When HIV and AIDS invaded America in the 1980s, it caused widespread panic and fear. For those afflicted with the disease, it was a death sentence. And as the number of those diagnosed rose into the early 90s, so did the fatalities. Few places were hit as hard as New York City. Today, fewer people are dying and many more are surviving. This extension of life is a testament to the latest advances in medicine, but it's something we may be unprepared for because the fear, the stigma, and misinformation all as prevalent as they were decades ago. But World AIDS Day aims to shatter that and promote a sense of unity not only among the HIV/AIDS community, but also among those who perhaps have never given the disease a second thought. No one knows this dilemma better than my next guest. Mark Milano is an AIDS activist, an educator, and publication manager at the New York-based nonprofit ACRIA, community research and education organization, and he is also HIV positive. Mark, pleasure. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Today's World AIDS Day, all right? Why is it still so significant and maybe perhaps even more important today?
It's important to keep HIV and AIDS in the public eye because it has not gone away. It's not the horrible it's a plague, but it's not the horrible death sentence that it was in the 80s. But people are still getting infected. More people are luckily living longer, but that comes with its own problems. In New York, over half of people with HIV are now over the age of 50. And so we need to make sure that people know we're still fighting this illness. Globally, 34 million people are living with HIV. Only less than half of them are on treatment. So a whole number of issues that still need to be addressed.
I'm going to talk about stigma in a minute, but let me come back to something you just said here, and that is a perception. And I think that there does seem to be a perception that amongst people out there saying, AIDS, HIV, we've dealt with that. That's okay. We're moved past that. Why do you think that is?
Because there's not the incredible death there was. When I was...
Good news and bad news type of situation.
Yes. When I was in ACT UP back in the 80s, we were going to like a funeral a week. It was horrendous how many of our comrades were dying. That's not happening anymore. But that doesn't mean that the illness has gone away, that people aren't getting infected, and that living with HIV, I'll turn 60 next year, and I've had HIV for 34 years. That doesn't mean that I'm not dealing with a whole ton of health issues that are not, it's not just popping a pill a day. It's not that simple.
Let's talk about the idea of the stigma. Because again, some people might look at it and say, well, wait a minute, there have been decades now that we've been trying to combat this insidious disease, and we've made such great progress. I mentioned in the introduction because of science and medicine. And yet there is still a significant problem in the way that people are treated. As I said, the fear, the misinformation, the stigma attached to the disease. Why is that, do you think?
It's one of the things I dedicate my life to at ACRIA is that getting rid of the misinformation that's out there. But the stigma has not really progressed that much. There's been progress in the general population. Back in the 80s, if a child was diagnosed with AIDS, they were burned out of their home. It was that bad. That doesn't happen anymore, and people pretty much get that you can't get HIV from hugging somebody or a toilet seat or a drinking glass. The biggest stigma today that gay men experience comes from HIV-negative gay men. HIV-negative men treat HIV-positive gay men just horribly. On the hookup apps and whatever, it's all, are you clean? Are you healthy? Are you drug and disease free? I counseled a gay man, 32-year-old gay man last month who was diagnosed. He was fine with the fact that he would live a normal lifespan and his health would be fine. It was the stigma that had drove him into a horrible spiral of despair because all his friends had looked down upon people with HIV, and now he knew if he told them he had HIV, they would all be looking down on him. So the stigma, particularly in the gay community, is unfortunately still a huge problem.
You talked about the fact you're turning 60, that you've been living with this disease for 3 decades now. How do you keep going with that? Because I'm sure some people would look at that and say, oh my goodness, if I ever had that diagnosis, I don't know that I could function again. How do you keep going?
The thing that I've learned is from a George Bernard Shaw quote that I really live my life by, which is that the great joy in life is finding a purpose that you recognize as a mighty one, not being somebody who is constantly complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. So I've tried to take the focus off myself and focus on giving back to others and sharing what I've learned. So I joined ACT UP in 1988, and I made a career out of confronting public officials. I shouted down George Bush alone in a Republican fundraiser. I shouted down Al Gore, who was blocking getting AIDS drugs to Africa. I've confronted people in power who are not doing what they should be doing to help people with HIV. And I've been an educator for years. At Acrea, I do a series of Living with HIV workshops.
Yeah, tell me about those. How do they work, and where do people find them?
It's a series of 6 workshops, and you learn about the HIV drugs, about drug resistance, how to read a lab report, how to avoid transmission, and you learn all the nuts. And I can spend 2 hours explaining drug resistance, whereas a doctor, only has 15 minutes. So we go in depth, and people really feel empowered. I've learned everything there is to learn about this disease without going to medical school, and other people can do it too. So you can go to our website, it's acrea.org, or you can email info@acrea.org, and we'll have the whole schedule. They happen every other week on Wednesdays. And when people come up to me and say, I finally understand the drugs after living with this disease for 10 years, that really makes me feel good about what I do. And that's the way that I have a purpose, that I'm 34 years of experience. When a 26-year-old comes to me newly diagnosed, I can share that experience with him and give him some hope.
And what's the last question for you? What do you say to somebody like that? What is the hope? How do you give them hope for the future?
What I say is that having HIV today is not going to end your life, but it is going to change it. Health has to go to the top of your list of priorities. That has to be the most important thing. And then you have to find a way to look inside and find the inner strength to fight this thing and to say, I'm not going to let HIV define me. It's simply a virus in my body. It is not. I hear people say, I am HIV. No, you're not. You may have HIV, but this virus is not who I am. And the same thing to anybody newly diagnosed. You can live a long, healthy, productive, meaningful, happy life if you take the power back from the virus and stand up for yourself.
Mark, you've done marvelous work for many years, and we appreciate your coming to visit with us. You be well. Take care.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, take care. And you can find more information about AIDS statistics and locate a testing site near you. Go to our website at metrofocus.org.